I grabbed my phone when it buzzed. 5 o'clock, it's go time. The day before, I casually stopped by to say hi and to confirm what time we'd be meeting the next day. When I got ready for our meetup, I put on my favorite Spotify playlist and twirled the ends of my hair and sang along, obviously, while I put on my all-natural beauty look, just a little bit of blush, a little bit of mascara. And I put on my outfit, pre-planned of course, which was simultaneously comfortable, secondhand vintage, and the perfect shade of green. Light enough to match my eyes, but dark enough to say, this is a woman, smart woman, that gets shit done. Perfect. I only live a few blocks away from where we were meeting, so I walked on over, took a few deep breaths before entering the room, and said, hey there, long time no see. Hey, he said, and kind of like the voice you'd imagine a winky face emoji would use. How's it going? I just about melted. I pulled out my phone to say some sort of a cute joke. 5:35 a.m. on the dot, just like I told you last night. I giggled like a teenager and twirled the ends of my hair, and then I put my phone into the back pocket of my perfect shade of green, sterile surgical scrubs. Okay, let me just clarify a few things before we jump to conclusions here. Yes, this man was technically on my surgical team's service, and yes, our non-date date was really just me making pre-rounds, and yes, my perfect shade of green outfit was really only secondhand vintage because 500 other hospital employees had probably worn it before I pulled it out of Dory at the scrub machine brushed and washed. But come on, is someone even really your patient if you can't even write a billable practice note for them in Epic? Alright, you guys can stop freaking out, I'm kidding. Alright, I've done enough UWorld ethics questions to know that you can't date your patients. Let me go back and explain. We'd only known each other for a few days, post-op day 4 to be exact, but our relationship progressed rather quickly. We talked about life as 20-somethings in New York as I wheeled him from pre-op where we first met, all the way to the OR. And maybe it was the midazolam, but I'm pretty sure he winked at me as we were putting him to sleep. Oh, and he's got a rocking body too. Not just because of the systemic illness that plagued him for the past year, but he also does CrossFit, so it's really doing wonders for him. Before the anesthesiologist pushed propofol, guess who the resident called on to put in his catheter? That's right. Wait. Now, I know you all want specifics, so yes. He had a very long, very, very hard procedure. Luckily and unluckily, I couldn't stay for the whole thing. I had to skip out for didactics. But hours later, when the drugs wore off and I went into his room, he opened his piercing blue eyes and stared directly at me. Now, I may have been the only person in his line of view at the time, but I'll take it. I knew he had complex surgery, so he'd be here for a few days, and I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of excited. Our first one-on-one time was on post-op day 1, and it was so romantic. I asked him all about if he farted, if he had any bowel movements, if he peed, if he was able to walk around. I pressed on his stomach for the abdominal exam, and I thought to myself, is he guarding from peritonitis, or does he just have great abs? And I'm gonna change both of our names for patient privacy and to salvage what little is left of my own dignity, but I really loved that every time I left a room, he used my full name. Goodbye, Izzy Stevens. Goodbye, Denny Duquette, I'd echo. And I wasn't kidding when I said that our relationship progressed rather quickly. I met his parents on post-op day 2. They asked me all about where I'm from, where I went to college, what kind of doctor I wanted to be. I ate it up. The parents love me already. Now, post-op day 3, I was in back-to-back surgery, so I missed out on seeing him at afternoon rounds. So I thought, well, I'll go check in on him, check his pain levels. Now, he was medically ready to be discharged, but apparently he requested to stay another day. I walked in. He was sitting by the window in his regular clothes, listening to music. He looked good. You look good, I said out loud, sort of accidentally. Thankfully, that is a somewhat normal thing to say to a patient recovering from surgery. With that wry smile of his, he said, "So, what have you been up to all day?" "Oh, you know, saving lives, obviously." We exchanged some witty banter for a few minutes, and then I asked him why he wasn't going home that afternoon. And he said, "Oh, I don't know. Just thought I'd get one more morning." Despite literally getting goosebumps all over my body, I tried to stay calm. I said goodnight and confirmed that I'd see him the next morning, bright and early at 5:35 a.m. "Well then, good night, Izzy Stevens," he said. "Good night, Denny," I said. 5:30 the next morning, I walk in and he's already up, sitting up in his hospital bed with his computer. And I looked in, and we chatted for a little bit while I pushed on his stomach one last time. I savored the feeling of his perfectly tender, non-distended abdomen on my fingertips. And in my most laid-back voice, I asked him the usual, if he's pooping, if he's peeing, if he was able to walk around, is he tolerating a solid food diet? Yes, yes, and yes, he said, before saying, "And, you know, speaking of food, maybe I could take you out to dinner sometime?" Full stop. A million thoughts were running through my head. Did that actually just happen, or am I now hallucinating due to sleep deprivation and lack of physical touch? I didn't care. I wanted it. I totally wanted it. And yet I couldn't have it. I'm sorry. I just don't think that would be the most appropriate. "Well, I'm not going to be your patient anymore, so..." Damn, this man has thought his shit through. Am I a horrible person or what? This man just went through intensive abdominal surgery, has been dealing with chronic pain for the last year and a half, and whether or not he knows, I checked out his package as completely irrelevant because he definitely knows that I am acutely aware of his daily bowel movements. So to ask someone out after all of that, it takes courage. And still, I had to say no. I'm sorry, I don't think it would be the best idea. No joke, after 2 tries and 2 rejections, this man looked downright despondent. All right, well, that might be a slight over-exaggeration, but still the mood in the room definitely shifted and my stomach dropped. Screw it, kick me out of medical school. I mean, come on, isn't the first thing that we learn do no harm? Because I just screwed that up big time. "Oh, okay, no problem. I get it," he said, leaning back in his hospital bed, his body language increasingly distant. "I'm sorry," was all I could muster. I slowly left his hospital room. I thought about looking back at him over my shoulder like in all my favorite rom-coms, but right then, I got a text from my resident, and with that, my Denny Duquette story had ended.